Andy Johnson. We are looking at two different approaches or ways to go about reading instruction, skills-based versus meaning-based. They are theoretical perspectives. Now, know that a theory is not an untested hypothesis. It is a way, in this sense, to explain a set of facts. You have a set of facts, data created by research. It's the dot-to-dot picture you use. So different learning theories connect different data dots differently. Two basic theoretical perspectives related to reading instruction: code first and meaning first. Now, this idea of whole language versus phonics, these terms are outdated, inaccurate, and they do not adequately capture the differences between whole language and phonics. I absolutely hate that because it makes no sense. Most whole language teachers, 99.998, use very explicit and direct instruction of phonics. So it doesn't make sense, whole language or phonics. That's like saying, do you believe in football or do you believe in field goals? Well, in football, you kick field goals. Most phonics first approaches try to include reading whole meaningful texts at some point. Where I differ there is how, when, where, and to what degree. You can see which area I lean towards. So here's an advanced organizer. We're going to look at these three perspectives. First of all, the code first, skills first, bottom-up approach to reading instruction. It's based on this bottom-up model of reading. That reading is simply looking at the page, bottom, and this data moves up, meaning that you first put sounds to letters in your head, put letters together to create words, put words together to create ideas, put ideas together to create meaning. All that is done in working memory in a split second. You can see one of the problems with that is that that's a whole lot of stuff to put together and still try to create meaning in the amount of time that it takes to read. All right, that's not a very efficient or effective approach. Here, reading is defined simply as sounding out words, and the initial emphasis is on decoding. Now, if you believe that reading is sounding out words, you can conduct a lot of sounding out word research, and you will find that instruction in sounding out words versus a control group, well, your experimental group is going to do better at sounding out words. But does that mean that they are better able to create meaning with print? Letter sound sub-skills in this bottom-up skills-first approach is taught in a predetermined sequence, a scope and a sequence of skills. First you learn the consonants and then the short vowels, and you go all the way down, consonants, blends, etc. In that, it's like a program in a computer. You just teach the correct skills in the correct sequence and you get a finished product. Now, this has been used to teach generations of students to read, even myself, and sometimes students learn to read in spite of instruction, not because of instruction. Now, a meaning-first, interactive, neurocognitive, transactive approach, this emphasizes creating meaning with complete or authentic, real texts. All right, reading is seen not as sounding out words, but creating meaning with print. The brain uses three cueing systems: semantic, context; syntax, grammar, word order; and phonics, or the phonological cueing system, which is letters and letter-sound relationships. We use this to identify words, but our eyeballs only rest on 60% of the words that we encounter, and of these 60%, our eyeballs tend to focus right on the middle of the words. So this idea that we parse every single letter and every single word simply is not borne out by research in eye movement studies. Reading involves not sub-skills, but high-level cognitive processes. We use what's in our head to understand what's on the page. It's not simply responding like a rat in a Skinner box to various stimuli. Phonics and other skills are taught in a meaning-based approach. Phonics is taught, yes, 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 very directly, very explicitly, in authentic reading and writing context to the greatest extent possible, but we focus on creating meaning. What about a top-down approach? Here, you would just focus almost exclusively on higher level cognitive structures. But I don't know of anybody today who advocates a purely top-down approach without teaching any phonics or reading subskills. I know of no one today who advocates that. There may have been a few in the past, but very, very few advocate that. It's not the what of phonics, it's the how and the how much and the when of phonics. Now, whole language approaches are often mischaracterized as this top-down approach, this look-say approach or whole word approach. Now, whole language and whole word both have the word whole in them, but they are not the same. And again, I know of very few people today who advocate a look-say, where you just look at words and don't try to parse them somehow or use some strategy, or a whole word approach. Look-say, whole word is not whole language. People that are against this whole language often have not read the literature or understand exactly what whole language is. Whole word has the word whole in, whole language, but they are not the same. All agree that whole word instructions should be used only for the sight words. These are the 100 most frequent or the 220, depending on which list you use, Dolce, Zeno, or Fry. Whole language teachers believe in very direct and explicit phonics instruction. And again, it's not the what of phonics, it's the how much of phonics.